you want me to start? Okay. I'm going to call to order the meeting for the Long Range Planning Committee. And I think the superintendent, if you don't mind, can you call the roll?
Edmund?
Here.
Mr. Normo?
Here.
Ms. Mason?
Here.
Mr. Boo?
Here.
Mr. Boo, you have a quorum.
All right, wonderful.
I also want to acknowledge that we have two additional board members here. Mr. Hidalgo and Mr. Lejeune that is here. I'm so happy that we have 6 of our 9 board members to kind of hear some of this discussion because this is important, so thank you.
Yeah, thank you, gentlemen, for being here. I agree. I think this is our most important, one of our more important committees this year because we are looking at, what does the future of Lafayette Parish look like? We know that we have, and we are right now at J Montgomery because we thought it was important to tour some of the schools that are on our current projects list as well as our proposed projects list. And J Montgomery is on a replacement list. So we wanted to get a full tour, see what the structure looks like, see what our student population is, see the staffing that's here, and really decide where the facility needs fit in our budget, and then again, where this school fits in our long-range plan, which is developing at this point. So that is the reason why we're not in our current board room, that we are moving instead into facilities, and we'll continue to do that, and we'll select a school for the next meeting at the end of this meeting to tour and also have comments. And I have a room in my agenda for you to make comments on what you observed today and any thoughts and ideas you may have on what we do moving forward with this school. So with that, I'll ask item 2.2, the staff, I don't know if it's the superintendent or who else might want to make remarks on behalf of the staff.
Yeah, well, first of all, I want to thank the committee along with the board members that are here. I think it's important that, number one, as we start to look at where Lafayette Parish is here within 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, some of these discussions that we're having is going to be important as far as lining up our resources where it needs to be. I will just tell you that we come to these schools a lot, and we see what you have seen today over and over again. And the one thing that I will tell you is that we go to certain facilities at certain parts of town and certain communities, and what we see here is just not what we see at others. And I think that all of you would agree that we can do better and we should do better as far as our facilities are concerned. I will remind you that our demographic has just kind of looked at projections as far as where numbers are going to be within the 26, 27 school years. It's something that you guys need to kind of look at those numbers, but it's also something that we need to kind of look at that, hey, we need to have a strategic plan. That strategic plan needs to have something to where, hey, where do we want to see our school system overall in the future? So I thank you guys for again, being diligent as far as coming into schools. This is unprecedented, which is okay.
Yeah.
We need to be in schools, right? We need to be seeing what our teachers and our students are experiencing every single day. So again, I look forward to this discussion. Our staff is here to be able to add to any of that, and anything that we can do to kind of just help with the discussions and make sure that we get whatever requests back to you so that you can make good informed decisions moving forward. So thank you all so much.
Great, thank you so much. Item 2.3 is approval of the agenda. And I'm not sure if you decided to wait until tomorrow. Okay, so the agenda is going to stand as it is. Sorry for the correction. So I just need a motion to approve the agenda as stated. Motion by Ms. Mason, have a second. Mr. Edmond, thank you. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Next is going to be item 2.4, approval of our February 6, 2024 minutes from our first long-range planning committee meeting. If you want to take a minute to review them.
Make a motion to approve.
Okay, anybody make a second? Second by Mr. DeZormo, motion by Ms. Mason. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, perfect. So next is going to be item 2.5. It's a discussion and review of the tour of J Montgomery by the committee. And this is open discussion. If you don't mind if I start first, you know, I was very shocked to see the amount of, the lack of drainage. Obviously is something that I think at this school we need to work on. I don't have the numbers in front of me for the current enrollment or the projected enrollment, but I would ask the staff if we can have that information.
We have
600 for current enrollment.
600 for current enrollment, and what was the facility built for?
the capacity is, one second. Is 980. So we have 562 with a capacity of 980.
So a total of 562, and I know that she,
Ms. Sabuda, that capacity includes the portable buildings. It's
Right.
not what it was built for. It was built of what we currently have on site to accommodate students, not what it was built for.
okay. So the permanent structure was built for 980.
No, ma'am.
No.
Currently, right now, the portable buildings on site and the permanent building could house up to that amount of students.
Okay, so that includes 2 portable buildings, one of which I think we said she's not using, and the other is ELA.
So what is does anyone know what the capacity is of the, like how many students are in the portable buildings currently? And how many portable buildings do we have? Does anyone know?
I can
You have one ESL being used in one
Yeah.
pocket, but that's not even.
2 pre-K classes.
And then 2 pre-K. So that's, 40, maybe 50, 60 kids total.
So you're saying at most 60 kids in Butler buildings currently?
Roughly.
Roughly.
She said OTPT, and I think some ESL teachers are also using one of the buildings as well, so some staffing. So that means that this school is at 57.3% capacity.
That's with the,
That's with the total, I'm using the
With the-
562 number of full-time students that was provided by Ms. Gardner, divided by the 980 that we can actually accommodate.
okay, including the portable buildings.
Yes.
Yes, yeah.
While on the tour, the principal said that the capacity, like the student population as of today is 610 students.
610. So 610. I will note also that the principal did mention that there are some transient type students, I think that are, I don't know if
The enrollment's going to change a
Yeah.
bit depending before Christmas after. So when the original paper was submitted to you in January, that was the enrollment at that time.
Yeah.
So there is going to be an increase and decrease throughout the year.
and the MFP number that we were paid on though for this year, is that 562 or is that the 610?
No, ma'am. The number that I supplied to you on that date would have been the date is on the document. It says MFP as of that date
Okay.
on 1/23/24.
Okay. Let them report. So that's at 562. So we actually have 610 kids in this facility, but we were paid by the state for 562 students. Do we know if any of those 610 came back from the charter schools?
No, ma'am, I don't know off the top of my head. I know we've had 400 come back over the year, but specifically for J Montgomery, I do not have that number.
Okay. Thank you. Any other remarks about the facility itself? Thoughts on the use of is this the best use of our property in this location? Knowing that we have 57% of the building being used, and we have also other elementary schools with less than 50% or right at 50% available.
So if we're not at full, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, I think it's modern technology, which is what it takes today in school. I think we're having to work really hard. Looks like from the wiring to the connections, it's like it's working extra hard just to have that done. As we're, most schools, it's a little more modern. Literally wires hanging, where you can see them. It's not necessarily a safety issue, but I think it looks like they're working extra hard to try to stay up with the times, I guess.
I wanted to make the comment, the exposed wires and, the smell of the buildings and some of the bathrooms. I mean, they obviously are clean, but cleaning is not going to fix these
Age.
issues. The age of the bathrooms, the hallways.
I can say that, Dr. Wobley and the team gets lots of calls in regard to sewage. We have pumps that shut down, and we have, believe it or not, sewage that comes up in classrooms. I mean, it's actually terrible that, we're having to do that. So we're constantly over here doing work just to make sure that kids are just not getting involved with that type of stuff in teachers' classrooms. So those are just things that, it's probably from the outdating of the piping, and that we have these clay pipes that are just corroding, and we just need to kind of look at an alternative.
Right, and I mean, the best option, especially since it's underground, is not just to dig it up and fix it. You almost have to start over.
The flooding, I mean, it was not the best situation.
And I mean, with the new high school, what do we, I mean, I'm sure they did a flood study, but do we expect the new high school to affect flooding here, or add more flooding to this area?
It shouldn't affect this far down.
Okay. It's just when you come to Lafayette High, you're gonna see this big, beautiful palace of a school, and then you're gonna go right down the road and see a school that our teachers are busting their tail to keep up the best they can.
And
The optics are the optics, you can't change them.
And then also, I mean, it's not that hot today, but, the comments from the principal about the air conditioning not being able to keep up in the cafeteria or certain wings, and, I mean.
Yeah, also apparently, if you want to take notes, car rider line is an issue, it's a traffic issue. I've driven a bus for Lafayette High and tried to get through here, and it is an issue.
So that coupled with the new traffic being diverted over to Marie Antoinette,
Right.
and then that is where SJ comes.
Right.
Yes,
Yeah.
see a traffic nightmare.
Oh, for sure.
And not to mention a heavily populated apartment complex.
Right, and then we've got
Yeah.
apartments here too.
Yeah. Mr. Hidalgo?
So we know the capacity, the total capacity of the entire campus. Do we know the capacity of the core building versus the capacity of the temporary building?
Yes.
60 kids in the portable, so you just, from that to 610 is you.
So
Yeah,
920.
920.
But we do have some staffing in there as well, so I don't know if that, I mean, obviously I think we could find places for the staff, but I don't know if it would meet their needs.
She's saying there's just one.
But student-wise, it is that 60, yeah. So I guess the question then becomes, have we priced out repair versus replace when it comes to this school? Or can we do a study on, and I know that we're working to get a long-term, a strategic planner to help us with some of these issues, but have we done any study on, replacing the building versus fixing the plumbing, fixing all these things, or replacing the plumbing, I know this was retrofitted for air conditioning, so I know that that's been done, but,
What do you, or you consider in the everything, like student, like we would have to redirect parent pickup to make it more convenient, like you mean everything that we would need to do?
yeah, I mean, have we done any type of comparison between, I guess, replacing
Right.
either the entire facility or just the major issues that need to be fixed versus,
I'm sure there's a checklist, we would have to get the checklist first and then run that through. See if they
Yeah,
give
I'm
us a
sure
quote.
there's roof estimates, and has that been?
yeah, no, we had damage from the hurricane that has required roof patching and
But
replacing.
it's
this.
also the exact same footprint as LJ Alamo
Mhm.
and
Yep.
JW Falk. So do we have a copy of our list, of the
Yeah.
replacement list?
It should be in here, I think, right, the current projects versus it's not in there.
I know
I
it's
can
one of
pull it
those
up.
schools.
Which I can open it up as a side thing on the board.
Can we
Do you
open
mind? Yeah.
So we've got JW Falk, LJ Alamo, and
SJ Montgomery are full replacements.
Full replacements.
Right. And those will be the first, I think we're envisioning those are going to be the first 3 schools that we visit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
So SJ Montgomery, JW Falk, and
LGL.
LJ Alamo were the 3 that we're talking about. full
So
replacement.
we've just had to replace the entire main building, main wing of LJ Alamo's roof. Because we were raining in 8 classrooms.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so we're hearing that we have raining problems over here as well.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I think a lot of us have had children at LJ Alamo, and I would think that I mean, we could, the facility needs are very similar to me from what.
Is this what you're asking for?
Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Our staffing at all the schools seems to be,
Oh, it's Northside, not.
the staffing seems to be
Not
great.
Alamo,
And
yeah.
I just think we're making it harder on them just with having a facility.
Well, I'll just tell you that when you get to the age of these schools, I mean, it's gonna be more problematic as far as fixing things and doing different things. I mean, Mr. Edmond, you deal with facilities at
Right.
UL. You see that these older facilities just, again, you get to a point where this committee needs to look at, is it cost effective just to
Right.
continue doing this? Or is it something that we need to kind of look at as far as a repair that is going to be long to where we're going to hopefully not have to do these things over and over again?
Yeah.
So that's what it comes down to anytime that you start to look at it. I mean, is it worth keeping something like this to where we're constantly just putting money back
Right.
into it, and then it's like an old car, something else is going to happen to it, and
Yeah.
something else can happen to it.
Yeah.
That's what I said, I'm sure if we did a study, how often maintenance has to be out here, how often these C companies have to be out here. There's some indirect costs that we won't even see, but
Yeah.
we know it's there because
Yeah.
they do spend a lot of time and money out here.
And we'll try to get those studies, or try to get that information for the long-range planner.
Ms. LeBeau, can I
Yes.
add one thing?
Yes, sir.
Let's say we decide to fix the sewage problem, the drainage problem on this campus. What it would take to first go in to remove and to demo and abate all these old pipes,
Yeah,
and then come back and put the new pipes, it almost compare to be a classroom wing.
yeah,
For all the work it would take to do that. And
absolutely.
then we do all that, and then on top of that, we have air conditioning issue. We still have something, we need windows or something.
Yeah.
So it would still be like putting a
And
band-aid on it.
And most of your repairs are not gonna be grandfathered in. We're gonna have to change, we change one thing, we're gonna have to change the whole thing.
Right.
Because they're not gonna,
To be compatible,
Right.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
New regulations are not gonna let us just switch a part out.
Yeah.
Right.
Keep moving.
And something that got passed, something that was okay in 75,
Yeah,
not gonna be okay in 2024.
Correct.
yeah.
You know?
Building code,
Right.
different permits.
Right.
So I know we have ESL students here, I'm assuming that are not zoned?
Correct.
And then how many zone students out of that 610? Do y'all know?
Yeah, I can find some.
Okay. I think she mentioned that we have 120 ESL students. Again, we don't know how many are in this zone. But again,
Well, when you say zone though, so we do have an EL zone,
okay,
and so it's split among a couple of elementary schools, a
Okay.
couple of high schools. So they are in zone as far as we expand those zones so that they come to the closest elementary school. So they are in zone.
okay.
As
So
far
this
as-
would be their
There's
closest.
no Magnet Academy here.
school.
There's no Magnet Academy
Okay.
here or a program here.
Okay.
The
So
only
they would
program
be
that is here
zoned
is-
here for something.
Yeah.
The only program that is here is the hearing impaired,
Okay.
which is a consolidation of 3 districts
Yes.
that's here.
Yeah.
But that number is
I think she said
probably
20.
20-ish.
That's what she said.
And then from here, they go to Alamo, correct? Or they were at Hearing
They were
Impaired
at
was at
Alamo, they're at
Alamo.
Eggemarton.
They're at Eggemarton now, okay.
Yes, ma'am. And then they go to Lafayette High.
I would like to, point out that S.J. Montgomery is right here next to Lafayette High.
Yes.
So on our tour, we could see Lafayette High in the distance with the 3 stories going up. And like you pointed out, we're gonna have this brand new high school, and
Yes.
then we've got SJ over here looking very, very different. And then talking about the cost with Mr. Edmond here about replacing, the sewage piping and then the AC and all that. It's my opinion, it's starting to look like this may not be the wisest thing to replace this building. And, thinking about, I was on the planning committee for Lafayette High. We had to get rid of our baseball and softball fields to make room for coming up to code with the city to have enough parking. So then we go and try to make a plan over at Neyland, which is a very, very costly plan for moving baseball and softball to a city property that we don't have full control over. It's a very big, it's over $3 million to invest in a field that is not our property.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting that the return on your investment for that.
So,
And no matching from the city, right?
no.
Okay.
I mean, they're giving us permission to be there, but
Maintains the
ultimately,
field.
it's, right, so
does?
we have to maintain the field.
Coaches still maintain it?
Yeah, we still have to work with the city on.
That's what we say,
It's
any
a-
money we spend in
it's
it,
a
we're not gonna get a
public park.
return.
That's all I was asking.
And the distance between Nealon Park and Lafayette High is approximately.
It's not bad, it's like a mile and a half.
But still, that
right,
would
or two.
require, it's not a walkable.
No,
we
you
need a
cannot walk
bus
there.
and
You cannot,
logistics and
you cannot walk down
transportation.
Eras Landry.
Yeah.
No.
Yep.
Or down.
I mean, I know where it is, I just want to make sure that the public.
Yeah, the
knows how
public
far it is.
knows, like, it is
Yeah.
not somewhere you let children walk.
Yeah.
Board members, just to kind of make sure that you are aware of that. This money that Ms. Mason has talked about is tied into the overall project at Lafayette High. So this $3.2 million is bundled up in there. So what I'll say to you is that Nealon Park project is something of which we've kind of just put a hold because we need to know what this long-range plan
Right.
committee
Correct.
wants to do, because we don't want to go expend money when there could be opportunities, because it is a hard sell to the public, that if you go put $3.2 million somewhere else, and it's really not your property. When it's all going to be
Right.
said and done,
Right.
you're going to maintain it during the season,
Right.
but somebody else is going to
So-
use it.
And I would think out of that 3 million, we could build one heck of a baseball stadium somewhere.
But also, I want to point out, like, previous board, you know, we
Baseball
came
and
up,
softball.
And
we
softball.
came up with that plan because
I don't know.
there seemed to be no other solution.
Yes, yeah.
We needed to have baseball and softball
Right.
and
Yes.
give those kids a place
Right.
to play. And
Just look
like-
at that number, that 3 million though, I'd love to see what it
It's
would
a
cost for
lot.
baseball.
Well, and for us, that's additional security, that's additional, like you said, maintenance,
Control.
cost. Yeah,
Risk
I mean,
management.
that's
Replacement of
additional
locker rooms and
logistics
stuff
and
like that.
Yeah, risk
transportation.
management, everything.
Risk management, everything.
But in light of today's tour and, you know, staff that has seen this for years
Mhm.
and knowing, you know, with your insight, with Mr. Evans' insight,
Yes.
that the cost to replace this seems to not make a lot of sense at this
I agree.
moment. And so I wonder if
Yeah.
we could utilize this property, our land, in conjunction with Lafayette High. Because this is
Yeah.
walkable. This is,
Absolutely.
Yeah,
I would let my high school kid walk from Lafayette High to
Right.
here any day.
and I'm sure we could get right to play and anything that we needed to make that a more amenable path for them to get here.
And the other thing that I want to point out is when you look at our numbers, I think everyone has the classroom counts. Can we put the classroom counts on the board possibly? I'm sorry, Ms. Jennifer. You see that we do have capacity at some of our elementary schools.
Absolutely. And knowing that we do have, currently, I think there's 4,435 students at the charter schools, and they're opening up another 1,200 seats.
For elementary?
600, I believe, are 4th to 8th grade seats.
So that'd be fourth and fifth.
So we do have potential to lose 4th and 5th grade students from this school as well. So that number could be significantly affected by that as well. Or our capacity in our other elementary schools could be significantly affected by that too. Makes sense for us to consolidate. Do we have have we ever run the numbers on demolition, what that would cost?
Yes, ma'am. For Canberra Heights, what is it? Oh, for this specific site?
Not this specific site, but do we have an idea what an estimate for demolition would be if we went forward? Because obviously that would need to come out of potentially the Lafayette High budget if we were going to replace anything on this site to me for Lafayette High itself. And I don't know demolition numbers. So maybe we could just direct the staff to help us get an estimate on that. Thank you. As well as we need to probably have some type of, work with the demographer and determine that where the students are coming from and then what would be the closest next elementary school if we decided not to use this facility anymore. Their closest zone and logistically, what would be the easiest new location for them? Or if we wanted to replace this with another facility close by, we probably need to examine what that looks like. I know somebody mentioned on the tour, it'd be great if we could, and I'm in favor of kindergarten through 8th grade schools. So if maybe that's an option too, if we could look at existing middle schools and look if there's a place that we could combine, if needed, an elementary with a K through, I mean, a middle school.
I think that's some of the enticing decisions parents are making with the charter schools is because they do offer that.
And we do have that example with Milton.
Yes.
So with Milton, we have the K through 8, and it's
we're-
one of our
Thriving.
most populated schools.
Yes.
And I think that people are very comfortable with that model, and that
Yes.
is the model that the charter schools around us are
Correct.
going with. So I think that's something we could definitely, we have to keep in mind that like our middle schools though, they have a gym.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so adding a gym is a very costly thing to do. And
Yeah.
so I would love to look at some of our middles and see if there's any opportunity to add elementary if needed there. Because we do, you know, we have a lot of elementary schools here, and like
difficult to read.
like I
Yeah.
said, you know, not all of them are.
Well, and look, and if we
Close
would
to
decide to
capacity.
build another school, say like an LG Alamo, I mean, you could divide the rosters right now, you still probably wouldn't even be at capacity of the current building.
Yeah.
So you could always add capacity to another school, like you said,
Yeah.
and that, you can go K through 12 there, because they're already, what, 5th through 8th?
Right. I mean, closest in proximity to SJ is Woodvale, but they're close to capacity.
This zone is actually, just for y'all's reference.
Yeah, no, I'd love to.
This
Yeah.
zone is actually J. Wallace James zone.
This is
So-
J. Wallace
This-
James.
When they opened J. Wallace James, they rezoned, and so so if you look on the front steps of Lafayette High and you're looking straight out, that is all Woodvale zoned. Even right here on the right is not necessarily, some of that goes to Baranco. This zone runs all the way down Cameron, everything that you would think, all the way to University, that big square to the interstate. All the way to West Side Zone. So this SJ really has became what you would think of as if you were living down Cameron Street and J. Wallace James was not a school of choice.
But
And
It's a
J. Wallace
complete school of
James,
choice.
and so
J. Wallace James.
J. Wallace James is a complete
J.
school of
Wallace
choice.
James has no home zone.
it
No
has
home zone. So this is basically what you would
Yeah,
consider
agreed.
to be their home zone all the way to the
If you're not in
to
the
the
academy,
edge of
you're here.
Ambassador,
Can you
When do
remind
these
me?
kids transition to middle school?
Lafayette.
these, they get Lafayette Middle.
There's a few that go to Scott, depending on where they are on that Cameron, because they used to go to West Side, so there is a small pocket that's kind of behind the Chevrolet that actually cuts out and goes to Scott. Very small
How much
pocket.
room do we have at Lafayette Middle? Is there room for growth?
So Lafayette Middle
Facility-wise?
on this list is 328 to 650. 650. So about 330.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we have open capacity at Lafayette Middle. And we have, I'm assuming, acreage for the
guess that's what I
ability
meant,
to
is
add
acreage,
on to
yeah.
the school.
Yes,
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I wouldn't,
The
that's what I meant,
aerial
acreage, do we have the acreage?
And we're not, in our Magnet Academy there is not full, correct? Okay.
So board members, just again, go back to these numbers, and if you really study them over and over again, and this is what the public needs to know, is that there is a middle school problem in Lafayette Parish.
Yes.
So if you look at the middle schools, and there is a consensus of what you guys need to do is, we have to be able to, if you're gonna go with a K-8 model, get those middle schools into capacity. Get to where we're maximizing,
Yes.
we're maximizing these facilities.
Somebody just said, look at this is a good,
Yeah.
it's a good comparison.
So Lafayette Middle is 328 currently enrolled, 650. And knowing that the charter school on the north side projects to build 1,000 middle school seats in 2025. They've already gotten approval because of it's an existing charter. They just got an amendment approved. So we need to also be prepared that our middle school numbers will be affected as well. So it may be that we are, we're serving a need that's going to be very, very present anyway by consolidating.
Yeah, I would just like to point out that, Lafayette Middle is a beautiful campus.
It is a beautiful
It's
historical.
in a great part of town, especially with the city doing their revitalization of University. that whole corridor. And if this is the elementary that feeds into Lafayette Middle, I don't see why we don't consider looking at adding elementary there. And if we need to build a new wing, we need to build it. We need to build it.
Yep.
We have the space there.
It looks like you could even add 4th and 5th already into there and still have capacity, and
So you
then
could
add
definitely add on the back.
and then add a K through 3 building and actually have less of a construction need than if we replace this entire school to accommodate K through 5th.
So Dr. Robley just got this information from Campbell Height Demolition, $650,000 to demo that particular school.
And was it comparable to this size, or was it?
Very
Yeah.
comparable.
So 650,000 to demo,
Yes, ma'am.
and knowing we had, what, 3 something for the Nealon Park project? That still leaves a substantial amount. And who owns the COLA facility? Do we know, do we own
the swimming pool?
do we own the land underneath it, or do we?
No.
Yeah.
Crawfish Aquatics, you're talking about?
Crawfish Aquatics, I'm sorry, I thought it was COLA.
They own that.
They own that
We
facility.
don't own that whole strip.
No, because they have houses on the other side of it, across from the baseball field.
Okay.
Well, the old baseball field.
And that's what, 4 houses?
I think it is.
There's more?
There's more than that, it's more like 8. And that can-
8.
There's more than that. Okay.
They go all the way across. They are looking, Aquatics is asking for some of this property for a parking lot behind them right now, which we're working on. Got some leasing a little space for a parking lot
Okay.
that the teachers could use.
So I'm hearing cost savings on the Lafayette High side if we don't move our baseball and softball fields to another location. And I'm also hearing cost savings if we could relocate middle school and Lafayette Middle, combine the 2 and make a K through 8.
Add a wing.
And add a wing, yeah.
Middle.
Which could potentially just be a K through 3 wing.
What are your thoughts?
And I know that we kind of jumped the gap. I think we had, we were going to discuss the current projects and then kind of discuss, I just didn't want everybody to think that we didn't follow the agenda. But, so that was kind of all with our discussion of the tour of SJ Montgomery and kind of what our results were. So we can move on to 2.6, which is our current project list, because we're basically speaking about that right now, but focusing on the 3 replacement schools, which is, again, J.W. Falk, SJ Montgomery, and then Northside High School. Yeah. Anybody else have any thoughts on?
If you were to use this for baseball, softball, what would be like the time frame? I mean, we can't just keep putting those kids to play in away games for every game.
So,
That could be argued.
so we do have,
You served that.
Thank you, Mr. It's enough from the peanut gallery.
I got it.
I mean, we only own the facilities we own, and
Yeah.
we have
Yeah.
to utilize what we have. And yes, it is absolutely not ideal for our current kids, but we have to keep, this is the long-range planning committee. Like, we have to keep planning for the future and doing the best of, the history that we've already created and go forward and make a better future.
So let me say this, that I've been talking to some people that are specializing in wings, and the exorbitant prices that we have been putting out there is just, we're gonna bring some packages to you. They're saying that to be able to put a wing up, they can do this in a year. They can, from start to finish, put this up. So what I'll say is that it's realistic to where if you say that, hey, we're gonna build a new wing for SJ, this could be done within a 25-26 school year. It's as quick as you guys bring things to the board and say, hey, we need to go out this. And here's what I will tell you also, is our team is looking at trying to fund this through, if we have enough to do it, through capital improvements. Like, how we've normally gone around and said, hey, what do you need? Well, we're gonna attack that differently. We're gonna kind of have some things that we're gonna be able to do with you individually for your individual districts. But look at, hey, maybe this year we build this wing. Next year we build this wing. And we use that one-time money.
Yeah.
And then if you need to go and bond out, you do that for new projects. You do that for like, hey, I'm gonna build something brand new. Where if you're talking about wings, $10 million. We can get a wing that would have administrative, we would have classrooms, we could do some things with bathrooms.
Yep.
So it's what this committee wants to direct our staff to do and start looking at. But, I mean, decisions have to be made that if this is where you guys want
Right.
to go, we want to be able to start talking to these coaches that, hey, in the meantime, 25, 26, we want to have a plan for you also.
I will say to Mr. Lejeun's question, we are still very early in the preliminary stages of Neyland Park. So, Mr. Jeffers, I know, still probably for 2 years out, probably before.
I have a preliminary timeline. I can circle back to that. Once I pull up from my email, they had like a schedule of bid documents, timeline for construction, things of that nature, but we've not done any of that to this
Still
point.
early.
The legwork has been done, but not to the point where a show is
construction,
done.
right?
Correct, yes, sir.
So there hasn't been any effect to the park at
No.
all? No
No.
CEA, we haven't obligated ourselves to
They've made
anything?
some minor improvements just to make it practicable.
Okay,
They have
but
practice there.
They have practice there,
Just general maintenance like we would be doing at any other facility.
yeah. But we've enhanced it
Well,
a
like
little.
Francis said, now's the
so
time
we
then.
benefit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now's the time to act, because if not, we're about to drop money somewhere. It's either going to be on there or here.
And I just kind of curious to staff, if, say we get the board to approve adding a wing to Lafayette Middle and, expanding K through 8 at Lafayette Middle, can SJ remain as is until then? What sort of repairs are, is
We're
the
gonna
following?
continue with the repairs that we have until it actually, we're not gonna make major, and I just hope that HVAC or something like that doesn't happen in the meantime, where it may need to look at our contract and what we have with that, I think Star is the ones here. But what I'll say is, we're gonna continue to do what we have to do, and when the sewage comes up, Alcide will be here. It'll be continuous of what we've been doing, just to maintain what we have. So, again, as quick as this committee can act and bring something to the board, we need to start moving on and give some of these people a timeline.
Absolutely. And just so you know, I mapped it. So Lafayette Middle School's 2.2 miles from here, and as we already said, this is the feeder elementary for Lafayette Middle.
They would end
So
up
these
there
students
anyway.
would end up at Lafayette Middle in 6th grade anyway. And that's what is the number at Lafayette Middle? 328 out of the 650 it can fit?
It's, 328, 650.
328, 650. How many of those are non-zoned Magnet Academy students? Do we know?
I think off the top of my head, 6.
Six?
6 kids.
So,
6?
okay. So we could even accommodate still having the
6
Magnet
kids
Academy.
outside of the zone.
So there's more kids in the academy, but they were zoned there to start with.
Yeah, so I
So
can
the
live in-
non-zoned academy kids are 6, the
Non-zoned
other
would be
zone kids are in the academy.
around 6.
Okay.
That are selecting to go to Lafayette Middle but are not zoned there, correct.
And
Okay.
that's the environmental science.
Correct.
Yes.
6 academy. Non-zoned. Yeah, that's a great, yeah.
The $3 million for Lafayette, for the baseball field is bond proceeds, so that money exists. Future money is going to be dependent on the charter school population and how that's going to hit us. And we think that's going to be big. We're also seeing a decline in sales tax this month, which also, in the past, we built things by taking a percentage of the sales tax above budget and sending it to capital. If sales tax is flat or negative, that amount is zero. So keep that in mind as we're going forward. I think we have a plan, we can figure out how to fund it.
Yeah.
The funding of that plan is going to be significantly affected by the hit from the charter schools that we get, and if sales tax continue to decline.
And just so everybody knows, like again, the 4,435 students are currently enrolled in the charter school this year. And I think there's 1,200 spots opening at ARCA in the fall, and there's 250 non-Vermilion Parish students that are going to attend the North Vermilion Charter School or whatever. And we don't know that percentage, which ones are Lafayette Parish and which ones are surrounding parishes because they're type 2. But it's a total of 250 students, and I think primarily they'll come from the Lafayette, Milton area.
I only have one more question and I'm ready. Staffing, how's that going to affect our staffing? Should our staff be concerned from SJ Montgomery, or I'm just asking sort of people to.
We'll say this, that staffing always follows kids. We have our staffing formulas, no matter where the kids are, the staffing goes with it.
Makes sense, but I just want to make sure out to public.
Just like anything else, we look at numbers and, where the resources need to be put, so it's not for staff to be worried about their jobs, it's for staff to know that, hey, the kids are there, you follow the kids,
Yeah.
right?
Right,
And that's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
I agree, I just want to make sure that was noted, because I
Clear.
will get asked, yes.
Yes. Now, I will ask this, I mean, is there a reason why we couldn't proceed with moving 4th and 5th next year and relocating kindergarten through 3rd if we have capacity?
Isn't there a change in like managing elementary kids versus managing middle school kids?
So what you're basically asking is that
Mm-hmm.
you would make this a 4 through 8 for the time being? Means we would have to change, we would have to get with the Department of Ed, we'd have to make those grade configuration change, but understand that's gonna be difficult because of some logistical things that happen with elementary time, middle school
They're
time.
very different.
Miss-
Like Milton has 2 different.
And Ms. LaBeau, also at the same time, not only curriculum, but transportation-wise, you're talking about making a bus go further with a double loop. So if I have a first or second grader or third grader that's getting on a bus from elementary, my bus is gonna have to go back into that neighborhood because you're expanding it to pick up another kid. So it doesn't just impact curriculum, it impacts operational.
Operations and logistics.
Also, to
Okay.
your point that you talked about before, a lot of elementary configurations are you have one in a K,
Yeah.
you might have one in 4th. So now we would
Maybe
possibly be
separate.
asking people to drop off here, almost to the point of what you said
Yeah.
about a K to 8. The joy of K to 8 is you drop off all your kids. Now we almost would be asking them to do 3.
3,
So
yeah.
they do a baby here,
And then maybe 2
and
separate
maybe
drop-off
2 at Lafayette
times.
Middle, and then back
Yeah.
to Lafayette High.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Francis, if we pull the trigger, let's just hypothetically set a date, when do you think we'd be going into the new wing?
Well, first of all, we have to identify funding, right?
Right.
So you just heard Mr. Dugas stating about, we're gonna find out in March, which is gonna be this month, what impact that's going to be, and we'll find out next year.
We say what
Beginning-
impact that's gonna be as far as,
I think we're thinking approximately probably a $14.5 million impact.
From charter.
From charter.
School.
Okay, I just wanna make
So,
sure everybody knows. what the
again,
impact is.
So loss of
What I'll go back
14.5.
to is that you have to direct me to go find the money. Bottom line is, we have to start thinking very wisely about when we go to build these wings.
Right.
We do them to where we're not building Taj Mahal. We're building buildings where kids can go to school, they have nice restrooms, they got nice lighting, internet, so on and so forth. We're not going to build high risers and things of that sort.
Yeah.
We have to be able to build for where we are. So, to answer your question, Mr. DeZarmo, I would say that, if you guys start moving things, it would be tight, but 25, 26?
Yeah.
25, 26, because I mean, a wing is a wing. I mean,
Yeah.
the point is, it's a wing. I
Right.
mean,
Right. Yeah, you already tapped into plumbing, you already tapped into electricity, it's just.
there's a lot of things that we'll have to start working on,
Yeah.
but you guys need to start directing that we go to
Sure.
look where this money is coming.
What is the latest that we could tell you to get it eligible for 25, 26?
I would
I mean,
say
the next
that,
month or
I would
two?
say that by May, the summer, we would need the
Yeah.
summer to be able to start moving.
Okay. And just so the public knows, so each student in Lafayette Parish that chooses to go to charter school, they take $11,515 out of our budget. So this year was around 53 million, and we're projecting it'll be around 64 million, I believe, in the fall next year. Does that sound right? That's what the numbers that Anthony
Yeah,
had.
so what he was referencing in March is when we get the second hit. We got the initial one, that was 6.5.
So that's for the existing
The
school year.
existing year, we had to cut 6.5 from the budget, which we did.
Yeah.
To make that balance. In March, we're expecting maybe another 4, but we don't know until that formula comes in.
Okay,
And then in addition to that, we have to project new charter school students for next year.
Right.
Which is what we're going to be working on, trying to project that out.
Okay.
To bring to the budget, and that's going to be a negative on the budget, which, of course,
right. So that negative, and we don't know that, but do you have any kind of idea of what you approximate next year's negative to be based on the charter school students, just based on what we kind of,
yeah, I mean, normally
Yeah.
normally the charter school population is about 80, of the schools in Lafayette Parish are about 80%. It covers around 8% depending on which school you're looking at, but we need to get those numbers from the charter schools to try to get an estimate of what it might be next year.
Yeah.
And MFP is always unpredictable because you have that wealth factor in there.
Yes.
That puts richer parishes with more of a local, which takes more money from us locally to go to the charter school rather than the state funding.
Right.
If we're a poorer parish.
Yeah.
So those new charter seats you're talking about, are those already built?
Yeah, they're already in process of
Building is
being built.
built.
The building is built.
they
It's
just
not,
gonna have to
I don't think
fill.
it's completed yet, but it will be completed
For
for the
next
fall.
school year.
Yes, and 680 something will be high school and the rest will be middle school, upper elementary, middle school students. Yeah, and I did want to say that is, they are funded with the same dollars that we're funded with. So people understand that charter school is your tax dollars funding each student. So the student comes to Lafayette Parish School System, your money follows them here. If your child goes to the charter school, the money follows them there. They are funded by the same dollar, whether they go to charter school or to our school.
But there's a very important difference that the dedication does not follow.
Okay,
So the dedication of the 2002 tax and the 87 tax does not follow.
okay, so the
They get
2002
money
sales
totally
tax.
encumbered, and we're, as the parish, have to account for 100% of that dedication.
Okay,
So even though they may be getting this 2002 tax, and they may be getting 3 million of that, we still have to pay out that in a payment to the teachers or into that, whatever that's dedicated for the tax. In addition to that, it's a double whammy. It comes out of the general fund because that dedication does not follow.
does not follow the student, okay. But it follows the staff, I guess. Or follows the percentage of staff, right? No?
No, they get that money unencumbered.
Unencumbered,
So
okay.
if the taxpayer said you have to spend this on these 5 priorities, we have to spend it on the 5 priorities. That tax is included in the amount of revenue that's sent to the charter schools, but all those.
They
They
can
get
do
to do
whatever.
that. They don't have any of
give
those
the
restrictions
teachers-
that the
yeah.
person paying the money
Yeah.
said should be on that money. They get it scot-free, they disguise it as MFP and give it to you scot-free.
Okay,
Not scot-free, requirement-free.
requirement-free, right. Yeah. Did you have a question, sorry?
Yeah, I did. Well, a comment and a question. So we know that it's not a level playing field with charter schools, not
Right.
just on the finance side, but also on the building side. I mean, they go out with private money to build schools, and we have to
Right.
go out and tell the developer how much money we have to spend, so we already know what the bill's gonna be, right?
Right,
I know this is wishful thinking, but in the event that we are able to truly compete with them, I'm hopeful that this committee will kind of be mindful of not closing schools, piling, I should say piling, but filling up other schools, and then if we do get our game together, and we are able to bring students back, now we don't know where we're gonna put them, right? And so, if we're building a wing, I know we don't wanna build Taj Mahal, maybe we take their model. They build stuff very quickly. But also building it large enough so that one day,
Expansion.
we hopefully win the
We
game
will allow-
and we
yeah.
start bringing students back.
Yes.
I know they've built schools and they've got them approved, but that doesn't mean that they
Yeah.
will always fill those seats, and hopefully
yeah.
they won't.
Yeah. And one thing that I have spoken to two things. Actually, I spoke to a surveyor yesterday who did a very comprehensive study of all the properties donated to Lafayette Parish, so not our 16th section lands. These are just individuals donating, companies donating property to us. And he is providing that list to me, but he says it's a substantial amount of little properties all over Lafayette Parish. So he proposed that we work with those. He said some of the donations do have restrictions on what we can do with the property, but the ones that are not encumbered, that could be a revenue source for us. So we do need to look at that, and hopefully we'll get that and have that part of our
I'd like to see that
strategic
list.
long-term. Yeah, it was compiled 10 years ago. I think it was paid for by a third party. It was done by a surveyor, and nobody seems to know whatever happened with it when it was provided. So I don't know if y'all have a copy of it, but he is digging through what he called the air conditioning room to find it for me. And then the other thing is, and of course I forgot the other thing. Oh, standardize. I've talked to some architects about standardizing like you very wisely pointed out, the specs for the charter school are standardized. The same, you can go to Florida and their schools are gonna look like what they built in Louisiana. It would be a huge cost savings for us to standardize our construction, so every school's gonna look the same. I love how Gillette looks the same as Burke, looks the same as Live Oak.
So Mr. Gautreaux is meeting with people right now, just on knowing that you guys may be looking at building extensions?
Yes.
So that we can standardize that.
Great, because that would be great if we knew like the cost going in for the bricks or this, the cost going in for, or we know, we know, we have a much more control on the ability to expand it and have it look the same, and what our costs are gonna be if we standardize everything to a certain spec. So, and we have architects that have volunteered to work with us on doing that.
It'll help you,
It
it'll
would
be a lot
help
better
them.
with budgeting too and forecasting.
Absolutely. So I think those are two things that we really want to have implemented as part of this plan, is when we move forward with building a wing, the wing is going to look the same as every wing we're going to build from this point on. Or, you know, it could be slightly modified if we have an architectural, beautiful school like Lafayette Middle, but, you know, something that doesn't deviate too much so that we know if we need to add on, we can, and it's going to look uniform, or if we want to
You have more
build something
productive,
new.
you have more productive
Yeah.
conversation without digging.
Yeah, and I know that was a long conversation, so I don't want to, and if we talked about review the current facility project list, I think we review the ones that we are up for replacement, so maybe we stop there, we'll talk about the wing additions and stuff, maybe at our next meeting, and hopefully with the strategic planner in hand. So that brings me to item 2.7. Anybody else have anything to add? I don't want to cut anybody off. But this is great discussion, y'all. This is discussion that I'm so proud we're having, and I wish we'd have had it, you know, 20 years ago. The next one is 2.7, update on the status of the strategic planner. I know that some information was emailed to the superintendent. I don't know if you mind sharing that with us. And we spoke with Mr. Dugas about financing. We have some philanthropic partners that have donated dollars, and I think there's a little bit of matching on our end that we need to do. But that is in the works, so hopefully by the time we meet for our April, we have a signed contract and somebody here with expert knowledge, not just us spitballing, although I think y'all have had some incredible ideas today, but somebody that can really help us understand, you've got to have these 5 people sitting in front of you to really give you all the answers that we need to have and put this big comprehensive plan together. And then 2.8 was going to be community impact. I don't see Mr. Mouton here from the Pew Foundation, but obviously his community input, input, is assisting with the strategic planner hiring and just giving some information on existing grants so we can get that next time. Business input, and this is my fault, I did talk to, that's how I got in touch with that surveyor. We talked about the study that he did on Lafayette Parish School properties. And I really wanted him to be here to talk about the business input side of it, the surveying side of it, and also the study he did, but he wasn't able to be here today. So I'll make sure that we have him or any other business leaders you'd like to see here. Please let me know when we have our next meeting. And that leads us to 2.10, it's discussion of location for the next meeting. So does anybody have a suggestion for the next school that we will visit and tour? And did y'all like the tour first off?
I personally loved it, and I was thinking LJ next time, but now I'm thinking Lafayette Middle, so I don't know what you guys think.
I mean, I will tell you, LJ, I'm very familiar with it, is in this exact same state. We've just gotten a new roof over 8 of the classrooms, but I will say the front hall is a similar setup, except the clerk is in an air conditioning room with pipes coming down and no windows.
But like you said, it's kind of
It's very similar.
it's a cookie cutter.
It's
but
cookie cutter, but in
which
worse.
one do you think's in worse shape,
Worse.
Falk or LJ?
No, LJ's worse than this.
Yeah, LJ's worse.
Then I
So,
think-
but we don't.
How's Falk?
I don't think that we need. Here's what I'm saying.
Falk
LJ is the exact same floor plan,
Right,
and I'm just going to tell you, it is much worse.
right.
The front,
So
especially.
if we're not happy here, we won't be happy there.
We won't be happy there either. So
Yeah.
I think I like the idea, and JW Falk is also the exact same footprint.
Gotcha.
Same, it's age. It's age, it's
Yeah.
the smells, it's the drainage, it's the sewage, it's the things that we will spend an astronomical amount of money fixing and ameliorating. I do like the idea of going to Lafayette Middle, since we're talking about
That's what I was
possibly going,
adding a wing.
adding a wing there.
Yes, yeah.
You know, like, is that possible? You know, Lafayette Middle is one of our oldest schools. Does anybody know
It's
when it
beautiful,
was
though.
built?
It's a historical
It's
building, so
beautiful,
it's
yes.
what, early 1900?
I think
Right
because in line with the conversation we had today, I think that might be our best next step.
Yeah.
And then we can go from there.
Does anybody have any other suggestions? I mean, I just want to make sure that everybody is heard on what they think would be the next.
Yeah, you might know of a school that needs it more,
Yeah.
all of them, I don't know.
Well, the ones I was thinking about is all the ones we talked about, Falk, LJ, and
I got
this
you.
school here.
Yeah.
But they all got the same footprint.
Yeah.
So,
Lafayette Middle was originally built in 1926.
1926, yeah. Yeah.
so I kind of wanted to jump back to, I know we're discussing the location for the next meeting. Are we deciding on
Where we're going to have our next
Lafayette
meeting.
Middle?
Oh, that's up to you guys. I
That's
vote
Let's do a hand vote, and the other non-committee members, we want them to have a vote as well?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay, so I think on the table, what do we have on the table? Lafayette Middle, JW Falk,
LJ.
and LJ Alamo. Those are the three that I think people have thrown out. So I guess
Is
everybody that,
Is LJ added to the list?
it's not,
So you need to.
we probably need to add it
We
to the
need
list.
to add LJ Alamo. And maybe it's
But
not.
we have to do it as a board.
No, but I would like
If
to.
the committee brings it to.
I would like to,
Yeah.
in this
Recommend it.
committee, make a motion to recommend to add LJ
I'm
Alamo.
good with them.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Yeah, second.
With the.
Are we all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Because we're here seeing SJ Montgomery.
Right.
LJ Alamo.
If it's worse than this, then it's definitely not.
Now, we have been able to save with re-roofing some of the main structures. We did get to add a new wing there already. We did get to add a cafetorium there previous to
I've seen
my
that,
first
yes,
term.
yeah.
So there are parts of it, it's not unsavable, and we've invested so much money.
Correct.
So there are parts that we've been able to ameliorate, but the front, the
The hallways.
The portions that are this
The
age,
covered
yeah.
walkways.
that
Yeah.
part has to be replaced.
This school was.
They're keeping financial records in the old freezer of the old cafeteria with no lights.
Yeah.
That is, I really hate to see what would happen.
I was gonna say Lafayette Middle, this is my vote, but I wouldn't mind Northside High either at some point, but
Yeah.
just because it's a discussion today, I think Lafayette Middle may be our best, so we can move faster on that one.
Yeah, so what are you saying? What are you saying?
Northside would be another one that I would really like to go through.
Oh, I
but-
mean, I would love to see north side.
Yeah, I've never been, I'd love to go Northside, but, whatever you
Well,
do.
if you're talking about making the skate parade over there, I think we need to see what the.
That's what I was gonna say, we need to close that chapter.
I personally would like to make a catering at JW Falk. So I'm open to either one.
Replaced too.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what I'm saying, I'd like to replace it, but I guess Lafayette Middle, is
gonna
that
say-
the feeder for JW Falk? No, what is the,
JWF goes to,
JW Falk goes to,
JW Falk some go to Paul Bro, and a few go to Lafayette Middle. Some go to, depending where the line is, some could go to Acadian Middle, just on the very, very edge. The majority is gonna go to Paul Bro, and then some
Let's do
might
that. So
come over to Lafayette.
We know what we wanna do, we wanna add to Acadian Middle, Lafayette Middle. And so we got that covered, so let's pick a different school, let's don't go
So
to,
the last revision to to Lafayette Middle, just so you know, we know it was built in 1926. The last renovation, major renovation was 1982.
okay.
82.
Yeah,
1982.
we know
Is that air
what we wanna
conditioning?
do there, so let's maybe pick one of these other schools. We know we wanna move it there, right? I mean, that's.
Go to Falk.
Go to
Let's go
Falk.
Falk.
yeah,
I
let's
think
go
that was what
Falk.
we talked about last meeting anyways, possibly. So we can do JW Falk.
I was thinking the same thing.
Which, think about it, when you think about these schools are feeding into the same schools. I mean, we're gonna affect, I think those schools and those areas have all been built similar times. I think Northside's in good shape. Areas of it, like you said, Alamo, we've added some things, or refurbished some
but
things.
JW Falk.
Also, the good thing, like
Yeah.
Ms. Mason said about Alamo, not to chime in too much, but
Yeah.
Falk has received a new librarian, so you're also
did get a new
starting with some
librarian.
great things that
Yeah.
you could demolish and still build around some great
Correct.
pieces that are
Correct.
Yeah,
there.
we didn't
Yeah.
waste that money.
The
Yeah.
only thing that, I'm sorry to jump back, but, you know, looking back at 2.6, you know, in talking about, you know, possibly sending SJ Montgomery's population to Lafayette Middle, we do need to look at the big list, and we do need to look at, you know, where we have such discrepancy in numbers. So, I mean, we're saying that middle school is our, you know, our biggest struggle in keeping people. And so I feel like we'd be remiss to not look at this and mention this. But if you look at the middle school that has the least amount of children going to it, percentage-wise, it's very obvious that Paul Bro is down to 585 and has capacity for 1,259.
Yeah.
So this is something that we truly need to consider. You know,
Okay.
Yeah,
we know our community's talking about it.
Yes. they are talking about it.
they are talking about it.
Numbers are what they are, but, yeah.
Well, and how much are we spending, I know we've discussed potentially using that for another facility purpose. I know that we're expending money right now in the budget for rental when we own property. What is that rental amount that we're spending on a warehouse that we are envisioning that we could relocate that rental money to a existing LPSS facility?
Francis, do you want
$30,000 a month.
$30,000 a month, okay.
Francis, can you, would you mind telling us a little bit more about,
We're on borrowed time on that lease.
And $30,000 a month, and the lease is up, they don't want to renew it, right? So do we know?
And they're
when's
putting
the-
pressure on us to get out because they want to clear the whole campus.
It's already sold, we're just.
It's sold, and so we're leasing
releasing it
back.
back from the airport?
So we've got to relocate a warehouse. The capacity of the warehouse
Goes
is,
to 27, and somewhere in 2027 is for the warehouse. The other part ends in May. And
okay,
as soon as we vacate and take all the asbestos out, we can turn over the keys. But as long as there's asbestos in it, we have to continue to do it. And that's, we're hoping to do that by May.
so we also have an asbestos issue as well.
So I wanted to ask.
Already done.
Oh, we've done the abatement already? Okay.
We have, sorry, I missed this one. We have 585 students there right now. I know we don't have a principal right now at Marlboro. What are the struggles there?
So again, with this committee along with the board, and I'll say it again to you when we get to the board meeting, you know, we always need to first of all make decisions for kids. That's the number one thing, to keep our kids in the forefront of everything. Number two is we have to be fiscally responsible.
Right.
The question to each of us in our household, if we know that we are far outspending what we're bringing in, you would have to cut, and that's what it comes down to. And I'll go back to is, for whatever reason, and this is not just a Paul Bro thing, and I wanted to be clear, that this is, you go to different middle schools in this parish, there is a middle school problem.
Yeah.
And I don't know what parents are thinking. I mean, maybe some of you who have kids are grandkids, but after 5th grade, they disappear. We are not seeing the hit in high school. I mean, our high schools right when Lafayette High gets on board.
Yeah.
Our high schools are where they need to be. But something is happening where parents are just deciding to get out after 5th grade. That, again, may be a counteract what you guys are thinking. Let's keep that K-8 model.
Yeah.
Let's make sure that we have that consistency of administration teachers and make sure that that is happening. But I'll go back to this. Regardless of what's happening is, Matt is being very cautious, and I'm going to tell you, there is going to be some numbers that need to be put out there. We have 6.5 million that's already been given to charters. There's probably another 4 that we're going to have to give up because of the numbers we're going to get in March. There's probably another 10 that we're going to be looking at when it comes to the fall. Do the math.
But that total number is in like the $60 million. Like, I
What-
don't want people to think we're talking about 5, 10
I
million.
understand,
No,
but
it's
what
like
I'm saying
60
is what we're
million,
going to
yeah.
have to
Yeah.
start looking at.
Yeah.
So I'll go back to this, is that we want to make sure that we're being efficient with the funds. You are asking right now to build certain things.
Yeah,
How can we build certain things if we're overspending in other things?
Yeah.
And this committee, this board will have to make
Yeah.
those decisions. I mean, you want to build wings, you want to build a K-8 at Falk, then you're going to need to have something to do that. You're going to have funds to do that.
yeah,
I mean, closing a facility could range 3 million, 2 million of reoccurring funds every year.
yeah.
When you get reoccurring funds, you have the
Get
ability to
bonding
go bond
capacity.
out.
Yeah,
You have ability to go do certain things to get more money in.
You can
Yeah.
invest
So
it.
I go back to is that there's going to be some tough decisions that we're going to all have to make. And look, you guys, I understand the position that you're put in, but the reality is, it's not just these middle schools we're bringing to you. There are programs that we're combining.
yeah,
There are magnet academies that no longer need to exist because they do not have kids.
yeah,
The reality is, I mean, you have a budget, we have to look at all of the different things, and we'll present that to this board or this committee to make sure that we're doing what we can to make good decisions. So I go back to is, look,
recommendations.
this is the numbers.
Yeah.
This is where we are as far as who we have, and I don't know what Ms. LeBeau says, that they're bidding this many seats over there at the Pont de Mouton, and it scares me.
It terrifies
I don't
me.
know what is gonna
Yeah.
happen to our camera
Well,
committee.
that's because our budget's a moving target. Every year it's
Yeah.
gonna change as
Yeah.
of right now.
And with
Until we can
sales-
stabilize it with our K through 8, because like right now it's a wild card. 5th grade, boom, they're gone, come back high school. So for those 3 years, we gotta figure out how to keep everybody in, and that way we can forecast even longer. So we know that they're gonna be with us. Right now, we don't know.
Yeah.
And that's part of having that strategic plan.
Yeah.
And then if this committee is driving what is going on, what the board's decisions are,
Yeah.
y'all let us know. We're ready to go. We're making decisions when you guys are ready.
So you mentioned something about, which programs are not attracting the number of students that we need. And you look at, you've got a gifted elementary at Woodvale, which is almost at capacity. And then they go to Paul Breaux, and then we're down to 46% capacity. So do you see those programs staying at the same
No,
numbers, like in elementary?
We're
that's middle,
definitely
and back?
mindful of what the numbers are telling us.
Yeah.
And again, it goes back to is certain kids that are gifted at 5th grade no longer stay in gifted. Some kids that are in immersion after 5th grade no longer stay in immersion. So again, it's a systematic issue, and we're trying to find,
Yeah.
until we discover what it is. If it is a K-8 model, let's do it. But it goes back to this,
Yeah.
to all of our board members. If you or your husband or wives are spending too much money in the month, more than you're actually bringing in, you have to make some decisions.
Yeah.
Some of you are business people.
Yeah.
If you have a business that is expending more than it's taking in, you got to make some adjustments. And that's the only thing that I will say,
Yeah.
that we have to make some decisions. And again, we will always keep our kids in mind. We will make sure that those decisions are made so that when our kids go to certain places or whatever, the resources will follow them.
Yeah.
The resources will follow them.
Yeah. Yeah, because that 360,000 we're spending on a warehouse every year, just the tip of the iceberg compared to all the other waste that we could
Well,
ferret out if we
the Lafayette High
examined it all. Yeah.
Baseball stadium would be throwing money down the drain, because you're
Yeah.
not getting no return on that investment. At least
Yeah.
if we use our own property, we do some investing into it,
Yeah.
you can always, we're investing into that property, so it'll have a better resale if we ever do want to get
Yeah.
rid of it. Baseball field, we lose every dollar we drop
Yeah.
in, it's just like a slot machine, it's gone.
And again, we know 80% of the increased capacity at the charter schools is going to come from our school. So we know that in the fall, that looks like they have 1,200 seats at ARCA and 300 potential at the North Vermilion. So we counted 80% of that is going to leave us, right? And then we look at the next year, if they're adding 1,000 middle school seats and then another 900 students if they get Broussard approved, that's another 1,900 students. 80% we know is going to come from us. So we're going to have to be very mindful of the fact that that's, so if there are motions that or recommendations we need to bring to the board, we need to bring them to the board. And so I will ask that if there's any recommendations, please make them now so that we can make them as a committee. Ms. Mason, do you have any recommendations?
For considering, I think that we should examine the numbers of programs, when they're in elementary and then what they look like in middle. If they drop, like a giant percentage, we have to consider moving the program. Is this the best place for the program? Why are the numbers changing so hard when we get to middle school? Or why are they increasing so much once the program goes to a high school? So we have to be very real about those numbers. I mean, the numbers don't lie. So I would make a motion to, let's see.
I'd make a motion to let's move on this wing, SJ. So that's in middle.
So recommendation to move it from replacement to a wing addition.
Yes.
Okay.
That's something good.
And then all in favor? Okay.
So just to be clear, is that the motion was to make sure, because I want staff to know this, the motion is to be able to
Move the
the K to 5.
replacement of K to 5 at
To a
J
wing
Montgomery
at-
to a wing at Lafayette Middle.
That's to be able to offset.
Move SJ.
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Did someone second that?
Yes.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yeah, Josh, Mr. Evans. need to do.
And with that motion, are we going to include the Lafayette High retaining this property kind of thing, or is that going to be a separate motion?
Do y'all want to make a motion that we kind of put a stop to proceeding with any
Yeah.
Yes.
So
outside?
I'll make a motion
I would think
to
Halt spending.
halt spending on Lafayette High athletic
Neiman Field.
At Neyland Park?
at Neyland Park.
Okay. Can I get a second?
A second. We have a better plan. They'll like that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Question about the magnet applications, and I've done them, but I haven't, it's been years. Do we guarantee them a spot in an academy, or do we guarantee them a spot in an academy at a location?
So when you apply for an academy, when a parent applies for academy, they apply for a specific academy.
At a specific
At a
school.
specific school. So it's
Okay.
supposed to be based on what your interest is. So if I'm deciding to be in the environmental LEOGDs as a parent, I would choose to apply for the academy. We would have a lottery date, and then you
Yeah.
would be randomly selected to fit in, correct?
And it's something like biomed, you could actually go to David Thibodeau too, or I know Karen Cove Middle for sure. So yeah, if you would apply for biomed, you can specifically say you want to be at the one at.
Correct. And so we have 5 schools that are 100% a magnet academy at our schools. So that means there is no zone related to that. So that is 100% a lottery entrance. And then you have your blended schools like Lafayette Middle, LJ Alamo. You have blended schools that are part zoned and then lottery.
Gotcha.
Do we have any academies that have waiting lists?
Yes, ma'am.
Which ones?
Usually on a yearly basis, we have a waiting list. Now, it could vary by grade level, but usually J. Wallace James, Elio Judice, David Thibodeau. Some specifics in Myrtle Place, Prairie, and then LG Alamo, certain criteria in it, like whether it's strings or band, not.
Yeah, it's usually visual arts that's full, and then,
The Medical Academy also, thank you.
yeah, okay.
I have a question about, some are magnet academies 100%, and then some have a home zone. How are those determined?
So historically, when Early College Academy was a 100% magnet academy, it's part of SLCC.
Right,
So
okay.
that happens that way. Leo Judice was a neighborhood blended school and then was converted by the vote of the board. Myrtle Place also, and it was a phased out situation. From my understanding, the little research I've done is J. Wallace James opened as a lottery school. David Thibodeau transitioned into a 100% lottery school in the fall of 2012. It became the 100% lottery school.
Okay, thank you. That does make me wonder why, looking at these numbers with J. Wallace James and David Thibodeau. So J. Wallace James seems to be, a very, like you were saying, we have a wait list at J. Wallace James. But which school is closest in proximity to J. Wallace James? So like if you lived across the street from J. Wallace James, but you weren't in the academy, so you couldn't go there, where would you go?
Come here.
You come to
SJ.
SJ. So you go to SJ, and then if you're on the other side of university, you would go to Boucher.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I mean, I have to point out, like, I'm District 8. I live in LJ Alamo's zone. It's a magnet academy. If I couldn't go to that school across the street, like, I wouldn't be that happy. I mean, it seems like a transportation.
Yeah.
Logistical
nightmare.
Just walk over there.
Yeah.
I walked
But
there.
LJ is not a complete school that you're in.
No. So it has a home zone.
310.
Yeah, but she's saying the other ones that don't have a home
Correct.
zone.
But the other ones don't have a home
Yeah.
zone. So I feel like
we should create a home
school
zone.
for such as J. Wallace
equity.
James, because maybe it will help some of these numbers balance out. Like
Yeah.
if we're struggling with numbers at Lafayette Middle, okay, so sorry, at SJ where we're sitting, so we're 562 to 980. Maybe it would help balance out some of the numbers if we created home zones around the
If
schools.
you included J Wallace to have some homes on.
Some homes
It would
in.
alleviate some of the pressure.
Right,
off.
okay.
So you can do,
But the problem with Magnet Academies is like,
They're set up.
they're set up to start in first
So yes,
kindergarten.
ma'am. So what you can do is, you can do a percentage. So if you choose to do a percentage of a Magnet Academy, the one that would already be 100%, you could choose a 25, 30, whatever percentage that the area, the zone would be set up to go into the lottery to it automatically default.
Right.
That those children would get that opportunity or that chance. The other way you would have to do it is that if you would include a zone, you would have to start phasing it in. So kindergarten ratio is a 24-to-1
Okay.
ratio. So you would have to determine that and work it up. As you go older, fourth grade is when we go to a 26-to-1 ratio, and then fifth grade is a 29-to-1 ratio. So you could take a couple in, but again, which ones do you choose to take in? So a percentage in the lottery
It's a
could
lot,
possibly
right.
be a better option than a defining zone. Again, just another option that you could look at instead of a zone. You could do it multiple ways.
Right.
You could do a 25, you could do a 50%. We have done that previously in the lotteries here. We've done percentage of free and reduced lunch. We've done percentage of different ways. So
And I think one of the things that makes all in magnet schools so appeasing to parents is they know you want to be there. That's
Right.
why you're there. You applied for that. You fought to get on that list to get in that school. So we just got to be careful we don't mix.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that sentiment. Like, you have to work to be there.
Right.
But also,
Yeah, but I see what
this
you're
is
saying,
a
too,
public
yeah.
school, and and like where I live is the biggest choice I've ever made in my life. Is like where
Where's school?
I'm gonna live. And I feel like that's a lot of people's biggest choices. Like,
Those
where's
are
my
the
house
small.
gonna be?
Yeah.
And real estate wise, like people choose to live and lifestyle wise.
Yeah.
You want to live close to where your kids are going to school, and it's very convenient. I would really like. I think I'd like to make a motion to ask the superintendent to examine configurations for home zones for all of our magnet academies.
Okay.
Second.
Judge, second. All in favor?
My other question is, if these schools, LEOGDs, what is their full capacity? I mean, it's a tiny little, it's precious. I love this school, but if that one is, it's saying 361, but it has capacity for 438. How do we have a waiting list?
So for that's the capacity. So you have to remember that is your full capacity. If you would take your ratio of children and put in all those classrooms, because of its because it's an environmental academy, it's 100%.
Okay,
and
labs and-
the labs and
yeah.
everything. We can only, and if you've ever visited the school, it's the smallest classrooms
Yes.
in the entire.
It's
not only small
precious,
school,
yeah.
it's the smallest classrooms in the entire school
Yeah.
system. So in order to accommodate all the extra stuff to support the academy, we can only fit so many kids within the room. But what we do is by capacity, we do fill
Okay.
it by the percentage.
Is there any way for us to
It is a landlocked area.
look at it at a larger school that has waning numbers? Jan Scott, don't be mad at me. And maybe see if there's a way to
He won't.
expand or
So you can
offer,
increase your lottery.
offer more opportunities. I mean, if that's, I feel like we're, at this point, we have competition now. We have another free public offering to the parents. So we need to ask parents what they want. And when I talk to parents, they want a K through 8. They want expanded specialized programs. They want more immersion. They want to fill the seats that they're asking for, more arts and those kind of things. So can we also examine whether or not if we have room at other schools, could we duplicate the program? Could we have another magnet academy? Or could we move it to a school that has larger capacity that's not full?
I'll tell you what, Count Crow, take it.
Which program?
Don't throw out any names.
Which program are you?
LEOGD, something like
I'm
that.
just saying.
If they want the STEM elementary school,
STEM. Okay.
let's find a way to give them a STEM, expand a STEM offering.
We don't have a STEM academy right now, and that is something that
STEM
people-
elementary would be,
I mean, look at
Yeah.
That
David
would be good.
Thibodeau.
Because David Thibodeau's they're always on a
is-
waiting list. There's always a waiting list.
I know. So these are all just spitballing ideas, but
Right.
these are things that we need to look at, and of course we're going to have a strategic plan to help us do this, but we do need to look at that. We need to be in the customer service business. What do parents want? What do they want their kids to experience? What is our capacity to give it to them? And then what do we have to modify in order to do that. Because if we don't start doing that, we're not going to see these numbers go anywhere. And so I like that we want to give kids the ability to attend school in their own area and give them the ability to access the magnet academies. But I also know if we have a waiting list, let's figure out a way to accommodate those students in some capacity to get to that magnet academy.
So what we'll do is we'll look at our current numbers and see
Yes.
where we're over capacity.
Yeah.
And just see if there are some opportunities to where some of this could actually spill over to other campuses.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have,
I have lots of friends with
I
kids
have
at J
room, I have
Washington.
room at Middlebrook. You
Yeah.
know, like, can we make that the STEM academy? You know, is
Yeah.
that?
And I think as long as you're still doing that, like, transportation's always
Right,
always a good question.
It's also in the center of town, you know,
Right.
it's one of those that you can,
Yeah.
we can get to easily. We do need to be.
Look at Francis.
Just know that all
So
of these
sorry.
decisions,
It all goes to the board.
remember those
This is
calls
where we
that
talk
y'all
about
called me
it.
about transportation all the time?
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
We are trying to solve some of these problems now, and then this is just creating more, so
Sorry, we're
we'll
just
work
talking.
through it. I
This is,
promise.
again, knowing that we're gonna turn a portion into zone
We're coming with a
students.
strategic plan.
Yeah, we're gonna try to give
We don't want to give anyone a heart attack.
Since we're.
priority to some zone students in the mix so that it cuts down on that logistical transportation piece.
So I don't know how to handle this, but it's like we've got Paulboro with less than 50%, and we've got Doosan Elementary with less than 50%. And operating a school less than 50, the costs are still there.
Yeah.
And so I'm trying to think if I need to make any sort of motion to examine schools that are below 50% capacity.
Your percentage, yeah, I think as long as you make a motion to percentage, I'm okay with it. We just don't want to go picking on certain schools, but if there's a percentage level that we can say 50% or less, let's look at it.
Well, let's make a motion to say every school that's 50% or less, let's look at options for those schools.
Okay, do you want to make that motion?
Sure.
Or can you as the chair? Yes.
I don't know if I can do it as the chair. Is there a prohibition on that?
Can I make the motion? Okay.
You can make the motion, yeah.
I'd like to make a motion to examine possible outcomes for schools below 50% capacity.
That's second. All in favor?
With,
Yeah, I think as long as we target 8%, it's a very defined number, I think.
Right. I mean,
Yeah.
it's math. Can't argue with math.
now, do we define that by zoned and magnet, or do we define it by zoned only, or what is our, that's the only tricky part. It's a great thing to have magnet academies, but it also is an inflation of
Is there any
numbers
magnet
that may
academy
not
below 50
be,
though? I don't think.
no?
So we probably won't have to worry about that. It'll erase itself.
It's going to specifically say it within here.
Okay.
So we'll use this list. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anybody have any
I
other
was gonna
motions?
say, I'd like to reach out to Mr. Doggo or Mr. David, you guys are visiting with us, but you're all gonna be board members that's gonna look at this at some point. Do you have any concerns or any ideas?
Yeah. I think the downside of our magnet academies is that people are using to get into schools, not programs. And so now if we start creating zones at magnet academies that people are applying for to get into the school, we've seen the complete opposite effect with Como. We moved the performing arts, we built them a $7 million building and they don't want to go because they wanted to go to Lafayette High. It wasn't because they wanted to be art.
Yeah.
So I'm concerned that if we start putting, this all goes back to the DSEG case, this all goes back to the government forcing us to put students in schools. And now we're looking at our high, with the exception of the south end of town, and that exception is going to expand to Scott and Karen Crow soon. But with the exception of that, we're looking at high numbers at our, academy schools. I'm concerned about zoning kids there. That's a concern. And I think the transportation piece is not just going to be a logistical nightmare, it's going to be a cost nightmare.
Yeah.
Right. And I think though, like if you are in a home zone for a school, but yet you don't want to commit to that magnet academy, there should be a choice possibly, I don't know if this is a transportation nightmare, but if you don't want to be part of the academy that your home zone goes to, maybe, you can apply in the lottery to another academy or.
That's always a possibility.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's.
I agree with like Jeremy. Like
Yeah.
LEO, I'll use LEO for example.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what the theme of the magnet is.
They want to go.
They want their
Yeah.
kids to go to LEO
Yeah.
because of administration, atmosphere,
Yeah.
where it's located.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know, they have options, Scott. We can go to, if you don't want to go to El Leo and you live in Scott, go to West Side.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much full also. So it doesn't matter what the theme is, and you can change it to a percentage,
yeah,
and it'll still fill up, because those people that are in Scott are gonna continue to send their kids either West Side or El Leo. You know, they just wanna make sure we have that, they
Yeah.
have that option in Scott.
yeah,
You know, I think Jeremy's right, at Youngsville, wherever, Carencro, they want that option.
yeah.
Well, Youngsville is more like what Ms. Mason described. People are moving to all these certain locations to go to the schools. Well,
Yeah.
guess what? At some point, when the school's full, we got two options.
Yeah.
We're either rezoning kids or we're building new schools. And then now we're talking about potentially building new schools, and we have schools like this, not at capacity. And the list is probably 3 or 4 or
Yeah.
5 of them on the list. So, yeah, we have to make smart decisions, but everyone can't get what they want all the time. I mean, when we talked about moving, even when we talked about expanding the health academy to another school, I thought we were gonna get killed. You
Yeah.
know, they wanna go to Lafayette.
Yeah. Oh, I get it, I get it.
Yeah.
So I said, they're picking the school.
Yeah.
They're picking
Yeah.
the school.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, my family went to Alamo. My daughter went to go to Alamo. She also played piano. It all worked out, but but yeah, your point is true. But I also hate to turn away students at this
Yes.
point.
Oh.
So I don't know where that happy mix is. If we can figure out how to, if it's an immersion program or something that we can find out a way to
I guess you could take a look at where
assist.
those kids are coming from.
Yeah.
No, I mean, looking at where they're coming from.
What zones they're
Yes.
coming from.
Yeah.
To go to
Yeah.
El Leo, to go to
Yeah.
J Wallace James. You know,
Yeah.
how many are already in zone?
Yeah.
And just choose to go there.
I just want to make sure, you know, I think the point of my whole, you know, like let's look and make sure we have a home zone around some of the schools that don't have them right now, that we're providing equitable choices. Because
Yeah.
my neighborhood gets to go to Alamo, you know, so why not J Wallace James
Yeah.
neighborhood? So that's what I'm bringing this up, you know,
Yeah.
just make sure
Priority.
that our thought process is correct.
So
Yeah.
we'll bring something back to this committee, for the staff is looking at, and give
Okay.
y'all some suggestions on,
Thank you.
I mean, are y'all also including STEM? David Tim, STEM?
I mean, at least look at it.
Yeah,
It's
I
gonna
think
come
so.
down to the
Yeah,
board.
I think so.
It's gonna come down to the
No,
board, but at least look at it.
But we're gonna bring it back to you.
Right.
You asked the staff to go and look at something. I want to make
Please.
sure that we're clear on what we're looking at. We're gonna go look at,
I think all of
Wallace?
everything with the exception of ECA to me, because
Yes,
because it's on a
that's
college
outside.
campus, it's a neutral
okay,
location.
so J Wallace and STEM?
Yeah. And, well, and
LEO Judice
the LEO
also?
Judice and
In Myrtle?
In Myrtle.
I mean, does that give?
and Prairie.
I mean,
It's
the French
100%.
immersion.
Sorry, with 100%, Myrtle Place would be a 100% also.
Yeah.
So everything.
But Prairie is 100% French immersion?
Sorry, what?
Prairie is 100%
No, ma'am, so
Okay.
there are 5 schools
So
that
that
are
one's
100%,
not.
but Myrtle, J. Wallace James, Elliott Judice, STEM, and ECA are 100% lottery.
Okay.
I think we gotta look at everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think we have a sibling priority built in, we have some other priorities built in. I know that, you know, I just think of proximity could be another factor on the
It could be.
list for a percentage of students. So that would
But it makes me, I mean, it worries me that we would do that at some schools and not others. So,
Yeah.
like, are we gonna propose at LG Alma all of a sudden, like, I live across the street, but I can't get in there?
no, it's
Yeah,
not,
like,
it's
I
not a
mean-
pure, what we're doing is mimicking Alamo at the other schools. Okay,
We'll look
okay,
at
yeah,
everything that's 100%.
yes.
And bring you guys some suggestions. Again, not to the board, but to this committee. And
Right.
y'all make decisions what needs to be brought to.
Okay, and hopefully we'll have the strategic planner help us with that too, and the demographer, and some of those numbers will be fleshed out for charter and all that by our next meeting, and those things, and we'll look at our budget, so, you know. Anybody have anything else? I'm sure that, I think we made everybody cry on that side of the room.
Next meeting where?
The next meeting is at JW Fall.
And I want it in a month, 2 months?
We have it set on the calendar
We have
already.
it?
Christy is on the dates for the year. I
Yeah, they
know-
don't know it yet, but we have the date set.
Because of the Easter holiday and spring break, and I don't know where it fell. I know we moved it from the first Tuesday, I think,
April 9th.
April 9th. It'll be our next meeting
is the next day.
at JW Fall. So April 9th, JW Falk, same thing, we'll do 11:30 tour, if you can help us arrange that, Christy. Thank you for doing all this arrangement, by the way, thank you for accommodating us.
Yep.
And everybody for being here. Oh, Mr. Dugas, I'm sorry.
Just one point of correction on the money. The warehouse is
Thank you.
4,351,000 total, just the warehouse, not 30,000. That's the whole thing. And a big chunk of that goes away.
Okay.
So the warehouse, just the warehouse is 4,300.
Okay, thank you for sharing that. And condolences on the loss of your father. Sorry. Okay, anything else? This meeting is adjourned. Let's go forward and do good things.